Legumes have always been a chicken and egg in terms of marketing and also for on farm, so to get true profitability out of a lot of legumes, on farm storage drives that profitability, because often you're selling them out of sync to the main marketing season. So you need to grow enough to justify the storage, but once you've got that, it does get a lot easier.
All supply chains have a lot of dynamic. There are a lot of moving parts. We have transport, both road and ocean. There are storage issues, handling issues, loading issues, quarantine, quality, foreign exchange, market movements. There's a lot of variables that affect the logistics involved in the grain market. As simple as a supply to a customer might sound, there are a lot of moving parts in the logistics process. Actually, the supply chain's fairly small. We are buying grain directly from farmers, and so growers will deliver grain to our upcountry receival points or to this location in Fremantle, and then we're transferring the product into shipping containers and shipping it to our customers' destinations all over the world: Europe, subcontinent, Middle East, Asia. And from our perspective, that's the marketplace destination. At that stage, the product's processed, packaged, and then consumed by customers at those destinations. So it's a free market. The exporter needs to be Australian DAF registered. So it's still heavily regulated by the Australian government in terms of making sure that certain minimum standards are achieved. But beyond that, it's a free market. So there's a very competitive buy-sell competition, many different customer options for the grower, some domestic, some bulk, some containers, all with their place in the market. And that gives the growers a number of choices that they can work with. I would encourage growers, before they even plant the product, the seed, to make contact with a company that they're intending to work with. It just makes the whole process much more efficient and with benefits to all parties. So it makes sense to understand your market, understand your customer, and get as close as you can to them so that you can maximise the value you get out of that supply chain. There's a number of options that growers have. Grain can be, or the legumes can be priced up front, in which case things like quality, delivery period, tonnages are all relevant to formation of a contract. Also, the options exist for growers to, if they don't like prices on the day, they can be stored for a later period of time. Communication's really important because there's times of the year where the world market has more supply than demand, and there's times of the year where the world market has more demand than supply, and it's sort of nice to pick those times for the sake of everyone in our supply chain.
Here we are at Gnowangerup. We're a mixed farm operation, cropping and sheep. We haven't had any problem selling beans. It's probably just the storage and the handling that you have to be adaptable to. Now that we're growing a few hectares, we do have to use bags. We are trying to build some silos to store beans. Bags aren't a great way to store them because they can get a bit wet and can get tainted with smell and discolour. We do hold out a little bit. If they're in bags, you generally don't have much flexibility in terms of waiting for a market. We have held bags over the winter before and it didn't really help the quality of the beans at all. But if they're in a silo, yeah, you can generally pick and choose a little bit as to when you would like to sell them.
It's a fairly illiquid market. In those cases, some collaboration can help because there's a lot of work involved in marketing a product, and if there's not much liquidity, not much volume, it can be an expensive and costly process. And in those cases, if growers do get together, they can add a bit of value to it. In the cases of products where there's quite big volumes already being traded, not really any value.
We're actually probably spoilt for choice. Lentils are a commodity that are highly prized. So we stored them last harvest in the silos behind, and then we've just sold them off farm into the Perth market, and then a lot of that's packed and sent overseas. The market in India for pulses is massive, and there's 1.4 billion people up there. So it's not going to go away anytime soon.
The WA supply chain has more than enough capacity to handle the legume production many times the current levels.